Okay, so we started these experience panels back in August at the annual meeting. We had a Women and Guns panel, and we talked a lot about biases that we experience as women gun owners. And Jennifer, you kind of touched on this a little bit with the free meal on Veterans Day and the wait staff thinking it was your husband. Do you have any similar experiences like in gun stores? Do you and Amy, maybe it's a little different for you because you work in the industry, but I'm wondering if you guys experience any of that bias in gun stores or at shows or at the range, things like that.
And I'm sure
Oh,
Amy.
absolutely.
Yeah, Amy has a lot more experience of that than I am. I have just gotten back into guns like recently, like in the past 4 or 5 years. So I'm not like super. I'm not like Amy. But yes, when I go to my local gun store that I happen to like, it's always they're asking my husband questions. Like, he's not gonna shoot the gun. I mean, it has to fit my hand. I have to be able to feel comfortable with it. I know enough to know that. I mean, I know all the basics, and I've actually started practicing a lot more, which I know I need to do even more. But I think it's just Amy may be wrong about this, but I think it's just a male dominated thing right now, and females are kind of looked at. Oh. You want a gun too? Or, that's just the feeling I get sometimes.
Well, I think what makes me kind of natural in the because Jennifer mentioned the male dominated being in the male dominated industry like the firearms industry. I tell people I've been practicing for that my whole life because I was in the Marine Corps. And you talk about male dominant. I had to go with the branch of service that had the less amount of women in it. It's interesting because they say I think it's like 6% of the population served in the military. Well, 6% of that 6% are women in the military, and then less than that, is women Marines. So I mean, we're really a small group here, but I definitely have had I've had some stereotypes especially as an instructor. But you step in front of a classroom and who's the instructor, and they see me standing there, and I've actually received comments from men who've taken my classes before that I signed up for your class and they didn't know I was going to be the instructor, maybe, or they didn't know really what they were going to learn. Like I remember one guy. When I used to teach in South Carolina, it's a mandated class for a concealed carry permit. So everyone who's applying for a permit has to take a class. So I get people that not necessarily were there because they wanted to take a class. They just had to, and I've had comments from men before that have said, I signed up for the class because I needed this check in the box and I didn't really think I was going to learn anything. But you've changed my mind and I've learned a lot, so thank you. And comments like that, I absolutely love to hear, of course, because I know that especially if I'm with my fiance, like they'll think that I'm just, if I don't assert myself, I do get that they think I'm just there because he's going, when really I'm the one that said, I want to go look at guns today, or I'm the one that wants to go shoot today. Same thing with the vet. Like my fiance didn't serve. Everywhere we go, it's if there's a veteran, I'll ask like, you guys have a veterans discount, because I'll still have it posted and I'll ask about it, and they'll look at him for the ID, or I've got on my license plate, I've got a veteran's license plate on my car. And, sometimes when we're out and we're chatting with, a stranger or whatever, they'll look at him and say, oh, you served? Like, no, she did. So, but it's the same thing. I think with stereotypes.
But I think it's also really important what Amy does, because actually when I got my concealed weapons class, it was taught by a female instructor. It was all females in the class. So So it was like a girls only.
Oh, wow.
It was a girls only. They set aside one Saturday a month at my range to do a women only class for to get your concealed weapons. And I think that's very important because I think women learn from women differently than they learn from men.
Yes. I found there are some women that don't, and I've encountered this where like I don't care if it's a women's only class or not, but there are some women who specifically seek out women's only classes. And I myself, I love doing women's only events and women's only classes because there is that kind of male ego that gets in the way sometimes when you have, it can be a little bit intimidating, especially for a woman who doesn't know anything about guns and they're going in a class and feeling like she's the only one that, doesn't have maybe basic knowledge. I think it's absolutely important to cater to that person. I mean, it's just like a beginner class. I mean, for even a guy that might not know much about firearms when he's signing up for a class, I think it can be, on both sides of the fence.
Right.
How often do you get to the range? Pre-COVID and right now during COVID?
I have not been for a little while because of the COVID thing. I get to the range not as often as I should, probably a couple times a month. And that's basically just pistol. That's usually I have a 38 that I like, and I got a 9mm that I shoot. But I probably go a couple times a month. Not enough is not enough.
It's never enough.
It gets pricey.
Oh yeah, right now ammo is hard to find. So that's been for me lately. That's been the biggest challenge. Is I'm trying to save ammo, but I try to when ammo is good and ammo is plenty. I try to train at least once a week. I think that's a goal. I don't always meet it, but my goal is to at least train once a week, and I'll try to give myself something a set goal in mind. Like maybe today I'm going to work on reloads, or maybe today I'm going to work on target acquisition, or maybe it's just trigger control, which I do that with we've got a laser shot system at home. And I actually right now I live on a range, so it's easy for me to go out and shoot anytime I want. But I do travel a lot. So is a range always available? No, it's not. But I think it's important to tell our listeners here that when we talk about training, it doesn't necessarily have to be live fire training in order to create value. So there's a lot you can do with just dry fire and just if you're concealed carrying, there's a lot that you can do to stay proficient without actually firing a shot.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out how I wanted to conceal carry. I mean, that's always like, where do I want to situate the gun to where it's best for me to pull it out if I absolutely needed to.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot more things to consider in that aspect. So one of the questions from one of our Zoom participants is, why did you decide to join the Marines, which is maybe the hardest and arguably most sexist part of the military? Why not the Air Force or the Army or the Coast Guard or the Space Force?
Well, the Space Force didn't exist.
Right.
I think I did it because I'm not really sure why. It's like the Marines had the best reputation. They were the best.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reputation they had when I was going in. So I wanted to join. I wanted to be part of the best. And I like the uniforms.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's the same. I mean, I come from a Navy family, and I had to be the rebel and go into the Marines. But it was. I think I just had I had this set. I had it in my mind that okay, this is what I'm going for. I wanted to challenge myself. I don't know what it is, but I say that Marines in general have to be a little bit crazy because who willingly signs up for what is going to be the hardest thing. Well, Marines do, but I think I honestly, it's hard for me to answer that because I just wanted to. I think just like Jennifer said, I knew the Marines were the best, And I said, well, if I'm going into the military, I'm going to be the best. So I guess that's what I'm going to do. But I definitely rebelled because I come from a long history of Navy naval tradition.
Okay, and since it came up just a second ago, would either of you mind discussing how you concealed carry? Where on your body you keep the gun?
Go ahead.
I carry appendix. There's a lot of controversy around. But I carry. I mean, I do carry appendix inside my waistband. It's usually, in like right, like right here.
That's pretty much. So I do it so I can cross draw because I'm better at that than same side. Once in a blue moon, I'll put it in my purse, but I'm not real happy about that because it's always a fumble to get it out.
I have carried in a purse before. I'm not going to knock it. There's a lot of. That's a whole separate show talking about, off body, on body carry. But I have done that before as well, and I think it's really about training for how you're going to carry, and of course, anytime you're going to off body carry, because I know a lot of women that do that. It's just a different mindset that you have to approach, when everywhere you're going, when you're leaving, your house, and even inside your house. I mean, it's really more about the awareness, rather than where. But there, especially now, there's a lot of options for women.
When I go to work, I usually conceal carry in my purse because there's when I'm working, there's not a lot of wiggle room. So I want it close, but I don't want it like on body. But if I'm going like out where I know it's going to be dicey or maybe just out, then I like to carry on body. I prefer to carry on body, but I will carry in a concealed purse. And it's a specifically designed concealed carry purse where I can actually lock it up if I needed to.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. We're approaching our 1 hour mark. So is there anything that either of you would like to share with the audience that we haven't gone over, or anything that came up when you watched the panel last week that you want to discuss, or anything like that?
I will admit I didn't watch all the panel last week.
They're very long. They're very long and meandering.
I beg your pardon.
I watched part of it. Actually, I was watching it when Lonny texted me the other day. Yeah, I don't know.
Lonny, do you have anything you'd like to ask these ladies to close with?
Well, the thing that comes to mind is and both Jennifer and Amy raised this, is the deeper discussion about women in combat operations, and God, would I love to have this conversation with both of you at some point in time.
Over a drink?
Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, and I'll even buy. Anyway, yeah. So that. But I think that probably the transition, that piece, I think deserves way more attention. I think all of us who have served, regardless of whether we served in combat or not, the movement from the military where things are goal-oriented, you know what's expected of you, you're trained for what's expected of you, and then you're sent home and your transition, there's not a lot of movement that brings you back to anything close to what you were before you left. And I think there's a bigger piece there that I think is worth talking about.
Up to you for a second. I think there needs to be more focus on the people transitioning from the military into civilian life, because it's like I got out and that was it. Like, then what? It's like nobody helped me. I mean, I'm sure there's charities or people that'll help you that aren't publicized, but they're not publicized enough. I think that could go back to one of the things that we were talking about earlier, charities that could help. I mean, help the from civil to military life to civilian life, because that's a big thing. Because I think that's where a lot of depression sets in, because you don't know what to do. You don't know.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that, I mean, if there's ever a topic that we can go more in depth on, and it's even just what we're doing now, I think that highlighting veterans and allowing us to share our stories and listening to each other, we kind of, it helps me when I hear someone else say, oh yeah, I struggle too, because it makes me feel like, I'm not alone in this internal struggle. And sometimes it definitely can feel like that. And, you even in my circle, I look around at, other veterans I know that are doing other things. And it's easy for me to say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing this, why they seem so adjusted. Why can't I be like that? But you really don't know until you talk to them, or, you hear them speak in a panel that, oh, okay, they're struggling with the same issues I'm struggling with. And I think that that's something that maybe Lonny, back, in your day, that maybe people didn't talk about that as much, but I definitely feel that we're in a new, a new era of veterans in which, we're saying, hey, it's okay to admit, like, you're struggling. It's okay to admit that, yeah, getting out's hard. Trying to find out who you are is hard. I'm trying to figure out, who actually am I? What do I like? What things do I like? It's hard. Like, how do I talk to people? That's a thing. It's I think that these conversations about it, I think, are the most important, because I know, even for myself, like, there's times when I have to kind of snap out of it, because I do find myself sometimes reverting back to, oh, I've got that, I get told this a lot, especially by, in relationships and friendships I've had. Oh, you're so, you don't really exhibit emotion. I've been told that, oh, like, I get so many people that I didn't know, you seemed angry or something. If I'm not smiling and laughing, I have this look on my face. And like, I don't know if maybe, how much of that is contributed to, well, that's, I was a drill instructor. I have this set way in my face that I've gotten accustomed to. And it's like almost 9 years later, I'm still trying to break out of it. Or, people tell me, you're really loud sometimes. Like, my fiance is like, you're really loud. You have to, when we're somewhere and I start getting heated and I start talking, like, you're really loud. And I don't know, like, he's like, well, you got that drill instructor voice going, and I'm like, well, I don't know how much of that is me and how much of that is that, but I think that there are things that I still struggle with, and I'm just now, 9 years after being out, I'm just now being able to get to a point where I'm comfortable saying that on a public platform, because for a long time I've kind of kept those feelings to myself, and I see the struggle that other veterans are having, and I think that it's important that at least the generation that I'm a part of, those people that are getting out now, I want to help them, because I know exactly what they're going through, and I don't think that, anyone should do it alone.
So,
the moral of the story is support your vets.
yeah.
Even just talking, yeah.
A lot of it is just talking.
So to start with, before we close, a belated happy birthday to both of you.
Thank you.
And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your willingness to talk about what you talk about. I do have some understanding of what it's like to have served and then to come home. And my era was different. Yes, we didn't get the same kind of welcome that you all get. But I think that the transition is just as difficult for you as it was for any of us. And I agree with both Amy and Jennifer that talking about it is probably the best thing. It took me close to 40 some odd years after my time in service to actually start talking about what it was like and where I was in that. And by the way, Amy, I get the loud part because I'm the same way. I really do. As I get more heated, my voice gets louder. So yeah, I do. I want to thank you both. Is there, before we end, is there anything else that you would like to actually add to this?
Now, I will say I encourage anyone who, if anyone has any other questions for me about training or anything, please look me up. I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm an open book. So if it's a veteran issue, if it's firearms related question, I just encourage people to send me a message, and anything I can help out with. I'm for the firearms and veteran community, I'm here.
I'm for sure going to look you up. Because it's the first time I met you, so yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice meeting you. I'm always stoked to meet another female veteran. I love it.
Yeah, Lara says in the chat that she can connect you both.
Oh, I love Lara. She's amazing. She's actually how I got introduced to the Liberal Gun Club, and
Me too.
her and I I love her. Hi, Lara. I miss you. I'm gonna maybe see you soon, hopefully.
Oh, I want to go to California. Florida is so far away.
Yeah, she says she misses you too. So again, I cannot tell you how much I, as a veteran, appreciate your willingness to do this. I think your perspective is really, really important in the veteran community. I honestly don't believe that women are heard enough of within the veteran community, that you are often left to deal silently on your own. And anything that we can do to make that less of a thing for you, to give you a place for your voice, a place for you to speak out what hangs in your head, so to speak, is something that I think is really important. So again, I really, really, really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for doing this, because it's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I want to reiterate Lonnie's thanks. This was great. A second week in a row of hearing from veterans and talking about the experience. So we do indeed appreciate that. I'm going to wrap it up here in a second. Ask Danny what we got next week so that we can get, next time on this Bat channel.
Next week, Scott's going to be back with us, our bench doctor, and he's going to be going over Walther woes. That is up on the website and available for registration. He's going to be working on...
It's a P-38, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
An old German gun. So that's... maybe we can see him not put it back together again. I do want to thank you, ladies, again, and happy birthday to the Marines belatedly. We tried to say it in real time last week because we had at least one Marine on, but now you're outnumber everybody else. So extra happy birthday. I will also say that I've had the pleasure of watching Amy work as a teacher, and it is outstanding. One of the best classes we had, Don't Tell Al, last year. Also,
thank you.
Yeah. Also, you're the only one that rattled Grant Cunningham because you kept tossing lead over his top of his.
I remember that
on top of his range. And Jennifer, it is nice to see you again. I did indeed meet you in Florida a few years ago. So I'm glad you're both participating in the club, and thank you again so much for coming. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. For folks who are interested. We have virtual drinks in the Discord server when we're done here. So if you don't know how to get there, somebody's going to drop a link into the channel right there. You go. If you haven't been on the Discord server, please feel free to join us. That's where hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of our members are talking about guns, talking about politics, talking about booze, talking about food. We talk about everything. So it's a little slice of heaven if you care to join. So by all means. Come on in, have a drink with us. We're usually there for a little while after these. And I think on that note, we can wrap up. We've covered next week. We've thanked everybody. Lonnie, thanks again for putting this together.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
And we'll see everybody next week. On that note, I'm going to kill the stream.